Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to have a look at another cool synth that I made. This one is going to use some very cool designer FM setup in Faceplant, and it's also going to have a really weird feature in regards to the panning. This patch is going to sound like it's going to be panning from left to right a lot, but it's actually not doing that. There's something inherently in the sound design that just makes it have this panned feeling, and it's actually going from left to right, but there's no setup in the patch for it to do that. So let's have a look at that. So here is the patch. This is another 180 BPM setup, and the sound sounds somewhat like this. So this setup is actually pretty simple in respect to the other two setups that I made. We just have the Faceplant patch, and then we have an OTT, EQ8 and a delay. This EQ8 is to shape the tone, and this delay is just to give it the delay feeling. Now what you'll see is that there's going to be this panning effect on the meters here. I can show that best if I turn this off and just get a stereoscope, and then we'll be able to see that in here. You can see that it's bouncing from the left to the right. So as I said, you might expect there to be some kind of auto pan in here, but that's not the case. Here there's another indicator for me that it's actually going from left to right. But all that is happening is that we have this FM setup here. We have a few different frames that we're modulating. For one, we're modulating this shift parameter here. And you can see we have a pretty wide modulation range here from minus 1.3K to 1.3K. So it's a bipolar modulation. And you can see that it gives that averting effect as well as that high pitched effect where you can just see many copies of the waveform. Other than that, we have a modulation here on the frame that we're using. And I'll show you in a bit how this frame was actually made. And this here is the final modulation that sits on a bandpass. Here we just have one of the default frames set up. You can see that this is the default wavetable that we're actually FMing with this thing here. So this is what's modulating this oscillator here. And then we have just set this arbitrary parameter range. And where the panning effect came in is when I turned on the unison. So without the unison, you'll see from the meter here that it's not really having that panning feeling. You can see that it's just in the mono space here. But if I turn this on, you can see that it's completely mono here. But if I turn on the unison, you'll see that one, it becomes a lot wider, and two, it will start to move from left to right. So we can see that it's this unison that's introducing this effect. And this is just the unison at default settings, but with the spread all the way up. Now the final modulation in this patch is going to be this curve. This is just for a volume shape. It's modulating right here, as you can see. And it's doing that at 16 notes, which is what we're using for the sequence, just like all of the other modulators. Now in order to understand this wavetable here, we need to go back into Serum so that I can explain the process that I used to create it. So I have the process popped up here. I just quickly recreated it. This is the actual wavetable, and you can see that if I morph through it, it has this kind of downsampling effect almost like a sample and hold, but it's smooth. It's not instant like you would have with a sample and hold or, for example, a quantize. And also each of the cell sizes are different. You can see that they're different in size. This one is a bit bigger, and then there's a smaller hump, a smaller one still, a smaller one still, and so on. So in order to create this effect, what I've essentially done is I've gone into a normal saw wave. If I turn off the remap, you can see that this is a normal slope down saw wave like this. And I've set this to remap 2 and then drawn in a shape like this, where you get these staircases. And these determine the size of each of those humps in there. So you can see if you turn this up, you get all of those same humps again. But you can see that this one is like from going down, whereas from this one, it's the other way around. You can see that we have this horizontal piece here, which is mirrored in here, instead of up here, where you would expect it to be if it was the same for the oscillation. So in a way, it flips this remap mapping, this remap graph that we see here, and it flips it for the second oscillation of it. So that's what's actually going on here. So what that means for the tone of the synth is that in essence, it's created by one, this pitching and inverting effect, and two, how big those staircases are, how smooth those staircases are. Obviously at the lowest point of the wavetable, it is completely just a normal saw wave, and at the highest point, it is fully in that kind of staircase mode. And obviously this is a designer FM setup, because this is FMing the actual sound that we're hearing. This is not the main sound that is playing. To get that in wavetable format, all you have to do is go in here and then render B warp. Now you can turn off the remap and you get this as a wavetable, and then you can just save this. So that's everything that I wanted to explain in this video. Hopefully I could show you that this is a very cool technique and that some crazy sounds can come of it. Also that the unison in Faceplant does some really cool stuff to the stereo field, which I really enjoy experimenting with. I don't actually know why this auto panning effect is happening. It would be awesome to have a discussion about that and see where it's actually coming from. I would need to do a lot more experimentation with that to exactly see what is going on in this case though. So for now, that means that this is going to be the whole video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know if you did by leaving a like down below. If you have any questions, then you can leave a comment or you can join my Discord server. Finally, if you're new here and you want to see more of what I do on this channel, make sure that you're subscribed. But that's going to be it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.